A very good morning to our lovely viewers. This is Smart Means Business, and of course today it is 2 minutes past 7, and it is 16th of February 2024, and it's a Friday. But of course today is a public holiday here in Uganda. We remember the Archbishop Janani Luumu. Of course, this day is celebrated in Uganda because 16th February, the holiday is dedicated to the life and service of Janani Luumu, the former Archbishop of the Anglican Church. And of course, he was typically regarded as having been murdered on the orders of the then president, Amin Dada. So today Ugandans are going to be remembering him, and of course it's a public holiday. Most of the kids have not gone to school and most of the people are not going to work, so they can actually celebrate Janani Luumu's day. Of course today we'll be looking at the balancing creativity and commercial success in animation. Well, we've been seeing animation evolve in so many ways, and in different countries we see how they've been doing cartoons, and of course we've been seeing Ugandans these days actually doing voiceovers for cartoons, creating their own cartoons, and animations are going to a whole new different level in every country. But of course we see back in the day cartoonization used to be all about drawing and sketches. And most people had to be artists to actually have these cartoons being done and then look into it to make sure it is put into character. But if you remember for the past 20 years, cartoons have been evolving and there's been a difference in so many ways. But now most of the people tend to use more of computer than they used to, because it's a different world right now. You know, many people are studying IT. And right now there's a lot of technology and development in so many ways, and so many people are looking for ways to actually see that they can get in the animation world, since you find most of the adults nowadays trying to do to sit and watch animations more than they do with movies, because we've seen their adult animations, we've seen series, we've seen movies, we've seen reels being created. And since we have so many influencers, people tend to use the different social media platforms to actually put their works out there. And of course, it's not limited to only Disney, Pixar, and Dreamworld, because these are the people that used to make the cartoons back in the day. And everyone only believed they're the only people that could actually make the cartoons. But right now, animation, anybody can do it. You can find anyone who can do it. You can find that someone is sitting in his house, he designs an animation, and of course some of them do it out of passion, some of them do it because they love to do it, and some of them do it because they have to earn money. But over the years we have some figures here where we see the old animation, it had the VFX, which is the visual effects market, is currently valued as $181.38 billion and is expected to grow by 9.43% in the next 5 years. Experts predict a market value of $284.62 billion by 2028. So that means in 4 years from now, animations are actually going to be making more money than it has actually been making. That means whichever country has the animation making companies, the animation making people, the country actually tends to gain from them. But of course, we've seen there have been generations of animation making. We have the traditional, which is the old way it used to be made, and the new way, which is whereby the IT is developed. People have learned more of computer. Leave alone back in the day, you'd find 2-3 people in the company can actually use the computer, but the others had to write the script and all. But in the traditional way, they used to draw by hand, because that's what they usually used to rely on. And they stopped the motion techniques. It was a time-consuming process, and of course it had to involve so many people. And of course, even if you leave the animation company, even the movies these days, you would find that they had to write the scripts by pen, they had to go through it when they're sitting there with each other. But you find that these days they just send you an email in PDF and you just read the script and you're good to go. You just get on set. But of course, we go back to the animation, and it is the the process was demanded. It demanded a lot of frame to frame. You had to go process by process. That was the traditional way, like 15 to 20 years back. But right now, in the new digital way, the new animation is predominantly uses computer-generated imaginary. And we've been seeing different movies in cinemas being put in 3D, you're actually 4D. I'm even seeing 5D some days. You actually feel like you're actually sitting in the movie. So these animations are mostly these days watched in 3D. You have to wear the glasses when you go to the cinema. Even when you watch them at home, you see a difference. Because if I personally remember from when I was a child, we used to watch, there was a particular show on a TV station that was very common to most of the people. You would actually see them wearing costumes. They had the monsters following them. And to us who actually didn't know much about computer, it was something exciting, something new. But right now you sit with kids and they actually tell you, no, that is fake, that is a costume, it is not real. But since the world is evolving, there is no way you can actually make an animation you used to make back in the day. For instance, we'll look at an animation like something that has been watched by all generations over the years. Though the original creator passed away, may God rest his soul in peace. We had Tom and Jerry. Everyone who has seen Tom and Jerry back in the day, Tom and Jerry was different. But if you tend to sit down and watch Tom and Jerry today, there's a huge difference. But that also comes with a lot of costs. You have to have a lot of income on you because you can know the old way of doing the cartoons was, yes, quite affordable because you just get someone, they draw and everything. But you look at right now and there's a difference whereby you just pay 2-3 people. It was actually more expensive back in the day because you would need someone who can actually draw eyes properly. You would need someone who can draw nose properly. That means you had to have professionals like art, people who have done art, who are really good at art and good with the sketches, not someone random who can actually just do anything. So that means the traditional way was quite expensive. So that means if we are looking at the new digital way, that means you tend to save more since you use a lesser team. And the computers do most of the work. Where you had to hire 10 or 5 or 6 people, right now you would hire just 2 or 3 people. Or you can actually have one person who just creates the animations using the computer, the 3D way and everything. But when, of course, we see there's so many steps of actually creating an animation for anybody out there who actually wants to create animations. It has a lot of money right now. Plus here in Uganda, we see most of the commercials are being made in animations, where most of the adverts and commercials, they used to use people. They had to have human beings actually there to actually make the advert. You see a beverage, they need someone. You see a telecom company, they need someone to actually do it. But now when you see the evolving of people, the evolving of the world, and so many years that have gone by, you find that the animations are actually taking over the advert sector. The animations are taking over the commercials. The animations are everywhere. You find that even on the billboards, they are using an animated character on different beverages, different companies. Instead of using people's faces, they're actually creating their own cartoonized character. For example, the characters that were created back in the day, if you see in 1960s, so many them experienced a lot of prosperity, and most of those characters until now, someone can just mention a character from the cartoons back in the day. For example, if you see Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, that was one animation that was actually created, and it is still making money till now, though they've actually decided to make movies out of it. But back in the day, it was an animation. And most people remembered all the names of the Seven Dwarfs. They knew Snow White. We had Sleeping Beauty, all those animations, leave alone the Tom and Jerry that was always playing most of the time. But with the creation of these animations, you have to look into the animation I'm creating, is it actually going to be remembered? Because you find kids actually when you look at these animations, you as a person, you would know I am actually going to make money out of it. How? You find that kids these days, you don't find a birthday party that doesn't have a cartoon character. You find a child is saying, oh, mommy, I want this, I want my birthday to be themed with this, to be themed with that. But it is from all the animations they actually watch. And most of them, these days, when you look at the characters, they are quite, they look human-like, they're different. That means the graphics are actually developed, the graphics are getting better with time. So at the end of the day, you see the experiment and innovative with the animation. This means trying new techniques, which means they've been trying different techniques, which means they've been investing and going to study more about it, which means they've been using more and more of computers, which was actually helping them. Well, of course, it is exactly 13 minutes past 7, and of course, today we will be looking at the balancing of the current market trends in the animation. Of course, there are different trends that happen to be there every day. Most people are actually watching short stories. We used to have movies that were actually 3 to 4 hours back in the day, and this would of course require a lot of input. This would require a lot of time. This would require a big team for you to actually do it. But now you find that someone actually has a pre-produced movie even before it is out, a series or something. It comes out in 3 minutes and someone can actually see what storyline you're actually giving, or someone tells a story in just 2 minutes in an animation, which means the different stories that are told in these animations can actually help you tell what you're actually looking to actually produce at the end of the day. But of course, you have to look at the concept creation, where you see the idea generation, it's the pre-production, because, well, of course, this is part of the steps of creating an animation that would actually be successful. It is just like in the movies, because in the movies you find this person sits down, gives us the idea. When they look into the idea, they look into the budget. After looking into the budget, they look into who is going to do this, who is going to do that, and where and how. And then, of course, the production process is there. But the production process, you need different bodies. Just like how you see construction of a house, you will need an engineer, a general engineer that is going to supervise everyone. You need a supervisor, you need a gate man, you need one who's going to take care of the mixer. You're going to need someone who's going to be the designer, the interior designer, electrician, the one for water, and all that. So with all these steps looked into, you find that the person that is actually going to create the animation, it is just like a movie. It is not that you're going to do everything, the effects, because you're going to need people that are going to do the voiceovers. These characters, who are you going to base them on? And this person you're basing the character on, how and how do they fit into the character? Because some people actually tend to bring out the characters in so many ways, and you end up saying, oh, actually this person, the voice suits them, the character suits them, and they actually tend to bring out the character more and more. Well, of course, it is that time of the day, and we're going to be taking a short break, and we look what is in the press review. Well, of course, we see that here in the monitor, the O-level results actually came out for the parents who want to know that. And of course, government asks for additional 300 billion shillings to roll out compulsory free UPE. Well, our officials in the government tend to actually be selfish sometimes. That is a lot of money. And of course, government shelves proposed A-level curriculum. Well, we talked about it some time back, and the Ministry of Education is trying to actually change the curriculum here and there. But well, of course, in the studio, of course, I'm joined with Mercy Kansime. And good morning, Mercy. How are you?
Very good morning, and of course today as we commemorate the remembrance of Janan Lowong,
Yes.
Janan Lowong,
Yes.
It was set as a public holiday for us in remembrance of his great works and what he did for our country, Uganda. Well, in the new vision, the First Lady met with the filmmaker Greenberg. So they're going to be collaborating in improving documentation. He's a reporter. Actually, he was a producer. He's a producer, so it's going to be helping in documenting. Remember that the documentary we read something about this same producer who he met the president before meeting the First Lady and producing a documentary about Uganda. Quite interesting. As a move of promoting tourism, I guess it's going to be going to the different destinations. That is also going to be a good portrayal of what we have as a country, Uganda. So, well, Kasasa leaders petition Parliament over disasters. Well, of course, it is dangerous to focus on River Nyamwamba, which has destroyed Kilembe mines. Remember, this has been ongoing for very many years, 5 years now. The Kilembe mines is in shambles due to the floods. People vacated. People are no longer residents there. So with the climate change, the rains that fall abruptly, this has led to such calamity, natural disasters. Yeah, so people are vacating, so there is need for intervention. Kilembe Mines was one of the places you would go to Kasese and not when you visit and yes, and want to visit, but then it's no longer in existence. We want it back.
Well, there are so many places when you look at the places we used to go see back in school days when we had school trips and everything. We always got excited. But these are places you go to right now and you're like, how can I explain to my child this was actually a thing when I was in school?
Yeah.
Then you actually remember your parents used to tell you this used to be a thing. Then you realize, oh, yeah, I'm also that parent now.
Well, of course, also Taiba directs Ayume's committee to expeditiously process the alcohol bill. So there's going to be an alcohol bill. I don't know if it's going to be on consumption. I don't know. If it's on consumption, then Uganda...
It should be friendly. They need to think about Ubuntu. Well, of course, traffic.
Well, the streets of Kampala today seem to be empty compared.
Today is a public holiday, so definitely I understand the fact that it's going to be a long weekend.
Wow. Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Wow. It must be nice being a civil servant. Must be nice. Well, as you can see, there is a little bit of congestion, really. I think this is the fairway, the fairway roundabout. As you can see, cars that are coming in all the way from Cotton, Tinga, that side. Very few, obviously. For those maybe that work in the private sector, I think. Those are the ones that have made their way. But for the civil servants...
Do you think actually these traffic lights tend to actually help reduce the traffic we have, the lots of it? Because that whole street starting from Akamwesi and everything coming down, they have so many lights and every 2 seconds it stops, it lets 2-3 cars go. Do you think it actually helps to reduce the traffic?
It does help reduce the traffic because now at the end of the day, the only thing that disorganizes traffic are borders. They are so reckless. Even when the lights is on stop, they will go. I think they should also have lights for those border borders, specifically for them to bring order. Olava
And actually said she doesn't want.
when they release these ones,
And then the other one is saying no.
Like, I'm seeing pass, I can pass.
I can go.
We are always at the verge of God's
Accidents. But also me, when I see this place, it doesn't have a roundabout and it has traffic lights, so that means less congestion.
Yeah, it comes all the way from Mulago and the others that coming in from that side.
But I've noticed that the places that have roundabouts most of the time, they tend to have lots of traffic. For example, when you look at the roundabout at Kubiri, around Pastor Kakande's church there, it is quite huge, very huge. And there are no traffic lights. The traffic officers that are there, they just look on and they let people drive the way they want. And there's always traffic jam around there.
We had to lunch or breakfast, probably.
But who is going to give them the breakfast and lunch? They keep taking our taxes, so they should pay them well.
The lawbreakers are supposed to pay.
Provide the lunch.
The lawbreakers, so you can really see the public holiday. This is a true depiction that Ugandans for they couldn't wait for the public holiday.
To sleep.
Like snoozing their alarms, like
Not today. Not today. Well, I like that since this year began, actually, all the public holidays I've been seeing, Ugandans are actually staying home. They're like, you know what? Today is a public holiday. Let me give myself a break.
You know, you work and you exhaust yourself. You get a burnout. And for some people, this is like a time for them to get relieved. I mean, you're working from Monday to Monday. Maybe for those that are into the private sector, maybe those that are into businesses, unless you decide as a person to give yourself a public holiday. There is never a public holiday for business people.
Well, being self-employed, they used to tell us you need to learn and make your own business. You're going to be different. You're going to get public holidays. But when you have your own business, you never rest.
Never. Because now listen, the fact that it's a public holiday, people are going to be mostly in town.
Yes.
People are going to shop.
Shop with which money?
There is money.
Which money?
There is money. These ones that are in public, those ones, the civil use ones, they have money. They have money.
Of course, civil servants, but the people in the whatever private sector, of course, they're saying there's no money and what.
They're the ones here actually giving you, so definitely.
It's quite sad.
It's quite free, and so you can cruise around Kampala. Yeah, you can drive your bike. This is a time where you bring out your skills of riding a bicycle, take a walk.
But this looks like how lockdown used to be back in the day. This is how it was. Only the people doing deliveries, the borders, and the company cars were the only ones you're seeing on the streets. Then people had resorted to evening walks. What happened to those evening walks?
Well, people consumed a lot during lockdown, I must say, so there was need to cut on the weight. Yeah, everyone was chubby after those 2 years.
Who was chubby with which food?
In COVID, I must testify, there was food. Remember matoke?
Matoke was a lot. The eggs were actually very cheap.
But anyway, that is what is happening around the fairway roundabout. Yeah, lights right there, as you can see. So please make time and pass through Kampala. This is the time where you can still do those evening walks. For the drivers, the learners.
Yes, it is actually the best time for you to use the streets. Streets are very empty for you.
Get used to the streets. Yeah, for those that usually, when you are a learner, it's hard to drive in Kampala.
Oh,
it's very hard.
When you're driving in Kampala, it needs, when you leave your house, you're actually ready for the taxi drivers and the border riders, because these guys tend to say very mean things. You would actually park the car and start crying after they've said something to you. Well, of course, that is it for traffic. We're going to take a very short break, and of course, we're going to be right back with what is happening in East Africa. Across the borders. So we're going to be looking at Karibu, East Africa.